Way back in 2009, a twig-like Brazilian kid was making his debut for top flight side Santos. The electric 17-year-old immediately set the division on fire, introducing Brazil to new flicks and tricks. He was the most exciting talent in a long time. Neymar brought trademark skills, a dash of flashy showboating, but above all goals. Lots and lots of goals. In his debut season, he notched 14. Not bad for a teenager. Having developed his game from prodigy to the most expensive player in the world, it's time to look at PSG. Can the same development be said about the French side? So let's rewind to 09, Neymar making his debut and PSG sitting 13th in Ligue 1. This was a long time before they were taken over by Qatar Sports Investments and had beefed themselves up with muscle made of money. The 2009-10 season was particularly average by PSG standards. Having finished 6th in the campaign before, they had now fallen back into mid-table mediocrity. Lyon were the league big boys, boasting 7 straight Ligue 1 titles since 2000, with Bordeaux and Marseille the closest challengers in what looked like an eerie time of change in France. But it's no wonder PSG was so far off the pace. There weren't exactly any superstar players around. Days of JJ Okocha, Ronaldinho, and now with Cavani, Dani Alves, Verratti and Di Maria, PSG were absolutely nowhere near that calibre back in 2009. Starting in goal, and there was an unheard of Armenian keeper called Edel. Apologies to any of our die-hard Armenia fans. 4 at the back saw PSG regular Sylvain Armand, who did the job in Ligue 1, and Christopher Gellet, who, wasn't a bad player, taking up the other fullback position. The centre-backs though, well, it weren't exactly Thiago Silva and Marquinhos. Mamadou Sakho, yes, the Liverpool and Crystal Palace guy who's always on Snapchat, well, he was actually a very hot prospect back then. At 19 years old, Sakho was the youngest player to captain a Ligue 1 side and earned his 18 million move to the EPL with plenty of standout performances, starting almost every game for PSG that season. Next to him, however, well, that was Zoumana Camara. The then 30-year-old had recently been relegated from the Premier League with Leeds, and for all Sakho's pace, Camara lacked it. Midfield was a little more tasty, although each of the players were just not quite at the very best. It was an ageing team, well beyond its peak. Claude Makelele, for example, this was his last campaign before retirement, and no matter how much of a fantastic defensive midfielder he was, there's only so much energy you can have left in the tank. Out wide, and you would have heard of Ludovic Joly, the winger who was inspirational at Monaco in 2004, helping them to the Champions League final where they eventually lost to FC Porto. Following spells at Barcelona and Roma, Joly wound up back in France with PSG, but didn't exactly have much left to bring to the party. The other attacking outlet was Stéphane Sessegnon. The then 25-year-old was being chased by the likes of Chelsea and Arsenal due to his flair and flamboyancy. But consistency never came, especially after falling out with the manager. In hindsight, that's probably why he ended up at Sunderland and then West Brom and not playing for one of the Premier League big boys. He still plays mind, but for Montpellier. So, without a doubt, our Neymar would be rushed into the PSG squad of 2009 without any question. Even at 17 years old, he probably would have been one of PSG's best attacking outlets, let alone now. Up top, PSG had Pege Lulindula, who scored just 6 goals that season in a career that was clearly winding down. He ended up in the MLS a couple of years later. The MLS was proper dodgy back then. His strike partner was Mevlut Erdin, who did do much better in front of the goal, finding the net 15 times in the league. The then 22-year-old signed for €9 million that season and was PSG's shining light, claiming both the PSG Player of the Year and the club's Golden Boot Award. You could try and draw some similarities between him and Neymar back there, but the main difference would be 240 million. Oh, and there was one more striker at PSG, bit of a throwback if you like, Mattia Kezman. Needless to say, Keza brought little to the table, and by that I mean even less than he brought to Chelsea. So there you have it, the PSG starting 11 of 2009, the day Neymar made his senior debut. It's fair to say both Neymar and PSG have improved dramatically over those 7 years, but it's PSG who have made the most drastic changes. Back then, the value of their starting 11 was around 50 million. Whereas now, it's valued at 10 times more that, more like 500 million. Few players are still applying their trade, but we imagine Sakho would do anything for an escape route out of Palace and a move back to PSG. You should have just stuck to your guns, buddy. That's all for HITC Sport. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We also have a new channel called HITC Top Corner, so please like and subscribe that one.